My brother, I got love for you. So I ain't gonna check you like I would anybody. Would even think that shit about me. Nobody check me, Meek.
They say you ain't a real killer till you kill someone you love. In Power, that's something Kanan once taught Tariq in response to him questioning how could he kill his own son Sean. At the time, many may not have questioned how did Kanan become this cold and ruthless, but he would have had to have really committed some heinous acts in his time, experienced, seen and been mentored by some psychopaths to do some of the things that we saw him do back in Power. And the further we dive into Raising Kanan through his journey and the people that he'll no doubt be mentored by, it explains a lot. Now, as the story starts to unfold with Brothers and Keepers, we saw Ronnie, who is driven by pursuit of dominance, as well as her pride and ego. Adrenaline-fueled world of fists also tends to blur the lines between brotherhood, and family ties can also sometimes be overshadowed by proving that you're the big dog. With Famous and Kanan, we're seeing an evolution of their relationship, which also makes us question the connection that they once had. Meanwhile, in contrast to the actions of Ronnie and Kanan, Marvin stands as a character who is family first, who really is his brother's keeper, as he continues to not give up on those close to him, which was mirrored by his daughter Jukebox. He was committed to showing support for Lou as well as Rock, and so in an episode where we start to see relationships turn with brothers, Marvin actually challenged the narrative. However, the game has completely changed with Unique's death. The chessboard is going to be looking a whole lot different, and the writers really have flipped the script on us in Raising Kanan Season 3. Now, episode 5 kicks off from where they left off in 4. That was after Ronnie brutally murdered Dean in his own home. He approaches a random on the street who looks like he's pretty successful at whatever business he was in, but Ronnie puts a gun to the back of his head and takes his car. Now, the older Kanan's narration gave us a reminder success attracts attention, envy, and backstabbing. When you're in a position that others want, they're going to be watching, hating, and want what you have. It's also a lesson that 50 Cent gave in his book, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter, where he said that those in the corporate world are no different to those in the streets. In the streets, they'll put a gun to your head and take your shit, just like we saw Ronnie do. And so in the streets we know who our enemies are, but in the corporate world, you have companies and people in suits and ties who are backstabbing you through contracts. Either way, never drop your guard even for your own brother. He comes to Unique's in the middle of the night and continues to press the bell over and over again until Unique answers, just to show him his new ride that he planned to flip to Ellie Tyler. He also tells him that he's done waiting and how he was done posing up at his and Panessa's because his patience had begun to wear thin. Now with Kanan, we pick up with him being back at Rock's house, where he's forced to stay because Rock planting a gun in his bag meant they'll be getting regular visits from child services. So this has completely turned Kanan's business upside down, because he's the glue to his whole operation. He's on the phone telling Famous don't fuck it up, but I think we all knew what was going to happen with Famous being in charge. Now Rock's also not stupid, she knew what Kanan was up to. She saw the maps in his hand and also at Famous's crib, so she knows he's hustling. And so I really wouldn't be surprised if Rock was actually the one who called the cops on Famous. I mean, she's done it to Unique in the past, when she told Howard about his re-up, as well as setting him up for Howard shooting. And more recently, she put a gun in her own son's backpack in a manipulative move to bring him back home. So I don't think it's beyond reasonable doubt to think Rock may have actually been the one to try and put a stop to this. Now Kanan wasn't the only one who was having trouble with his business, so was Rock. As the older Kanan's narration warned at the beginning, there's always someone steady watching, hating, and wanting what's yours, which also extends to these two dickheads. They were definitely behind Rock's broken windows, because Rock didn't kneel to them and give them what they wanted in episode 4, and she never will. It's just not who she is. But I am pretty sure it's not the last time Rock will have trouble with these two. Unfortunately for them, they really don't know who they're messing with. With Marvin, we pick up with him meeting Gerald Moore for breakfast, who, let's not forget, works at The Voice as an editor, where he mainly writes about culture, entertainment, and arts. Now, these two have come together because they miss Renee and their anger management classes. However, I have said this before and I will warn again. As much as we've seen Marvin's character transform and show this softer and caring side, he does need to be very careful. These are the moments where you can often drop your guard and spill something you shouldn't. So Marvin telling him about how Duke's just got into a girls group and how he may benefit from writing about Duke in his entertainment section. I do feel Gerald could write a column about Duke that could potentially help or maybe hinder Duke's career, depending on whose side he's on, and that's the key. I do feel like he was fishing for more. He told Marvin about how Uzuma Dean Tippett got put down, and when Marvin said everybody knew who Dean was, Gerald was quick to question whether he was selling drugs, so I do think he was fishing, which is what journalists and news reporters normally do. It's how they get their hit pieces and sell their stories, so I do think his reaction said it all. I would be very careful if I were Marvin. Now as Marvin came to see Rock, straight away he tells her Dean got put down. and how a friend at the newspaper told him the news, which is where Rock questioned, since when did he have friends at the newspapers? Again, highlighting the fact we do need to keep a close eye on Gerald's next move, especially because this is a scene we're yet to see from the season trailer. But with Dean, the word was just getting out on the streets, so nobody who put him down just yet. He also let Rock know that Lou was putting together a hip-hop night at Cafe Vu, and how they should be all there to support him, which goes back to his transformation and Brothers and Keepers.
Yo, but we'll never give up on family.
Marvin has and always will be family first, despite this feud between Lou and Rock. He's trying to be there for both his brother and sister, but for now, Rock was singing the same hymn sheet as Lou. She was saying fuck Lou. Now, with Lou himself, he was trying to turn a corner. He wants to maintain and stay focused on promoting the hip-hop night at Cafe Vu, which he did through Mo Craze, who he met through Crown in season 2. But we also saw him go back to his mother's place and pick up some records. He tells his mom that he's got a cafe in Manhattan, and he just wanted some records. But his mother did remind him of how music did nothing for his father, and I do question whether it is going to be the same for Lou. We learned a bit of history when it comes to E-Train in episode 3, where Lou gave us the backstory of how he just gave up, and so I do wonder whether it will end the same way for Lou, where Lou just chases his dream to his grave. Now, we don't actually know how the story will end for Lou, but we certainly do when it comes to Duke's music career, although we don't know how far they're going to go with it, and what actually tears a dream apart. So we've got her rehearsing, but Aisha finds it very difficult to keep up, and she was given a reminder, if she couldn't keep up with Crystal and Duke, she would be replaced. Another reminder of how cutthroat this industry is, where you can be replaced in a heartbeat if you ain't built for it, very similar to the street game. Now, Duke and Aisha did seem to be getting along really well, and she was actually the mirror to Marvin. When Marvin was showing this caring side, so was Jukebox. She was trying to be there for Aisha, but you do get the feeling that something bad really is about to happen, because there is way too much happiness here, and we rarely see any happy endings in Power, and I am going to come to a few theories when we get to the hip-hop night at Cafe Vu later on. Now, as Kanan was just finding out how Famous got picked up by the police, and how he was losing couriers, Famous was being questioned by Detective Garcia about Freddy. He said that they live in the same neighborhood, they went to the same school, and they also had an incident report placing Famous near Freddy's apartment just a few days before he was murdered. Now, this was when him and Kanan went to get their cash back from Freddy, where Mr. Ventura, who lives in the apartment opposite, called the police. Famous then came back to give Freddy a taste of his own medicine, but when he found himself being in a kill or kill situation, he pulled the trigger. Garcia then went to question Mr. Ventura in season 2, episode 10, but this time he wasn't saying anything because he was scared. Now, Famous does stay strong despite the incident report and Garcia's pressure. He doesn't talk, although Kanan did question, how did they let him out just like that? Because he knows those who get out quick and quiet most likely snitched. But this is where we start to see their relationship taking a bit of a turn, from brothers and keepers to Kanan acting more like his boss. Famous said when Javon got pulled in, he was there for him straight away to bail him out, but not with Famous, which I do have to agree with. Back in season 2 when Famous got picked up, we saw Kanan coming home and trying to get help for Famous, but to no avail, which is when he turned to Detective Howard. But this time around, you do get the feeling that their relationship is starting to take a turn, especially with Famous letting him know he was the one who put down Freddy. Kanan told him to keep his mouth shut, because he couldn't have him fucking him or his business. So while we're on the point of brothers and their business, let's talk about Ronnie and Unique, and I will be coming back to Kanan and Famous in just a moment. With Ronnie and Unique, we had Unique showing Ronnie his new operation at the Chinese restaurant, which was completely under the radar and hidden. Now, he wanted to give this operation to Ronnie, but Ronnie did not look impressed one bit. In fact, his response was a big fuck you. So let's look at this from Ronnie's point of view and why he was so pissed off. He left Unique the keys to his kingdom, and now he's coming home to this, which he said was bullshit. There was no business running through this place, they had no crew moving weight, and he was right. However, he blamed Rock. Everything was always going back to Rock. He tells him that Rock turned him out and took everything they had, and he does actually have a point. Rock did screw over Unique both in seasons 1 and 2, but Rock is out the game at this moment in time, and it was laying wide open. That's what Unique was trying to explain to Ronnie. So from Unique's point of view, all he needed was a bit of time. Time with Snaps did tell Ronnie to give to Unique. However, we all know Ronnie isn't the patient type, and so this did end up becoming a heated conversation between the brothers, with Ronnie saying nobody checks him. But no matter how much Unique tried to tell him that Rock wasn't involved and this was his only operation, Ronnie didn't believe him because there is a huge lack of trust between the two brothers at this moment in time. There just isn't any more trust. Now, this is also why he came face to face with Kanan, where he questioned whether he was working for Unique. He thought that Unique had other work, with Kanan being one of his guys, and so in typical Ronnie fashion, he asks him who was guaranteeing his package, but Kanan told him the truth. He knows nothing about H because he works for himself. Now, just on a quick side note, Kanan may be working for himself at this moment in time, but I don't think his weed business will last that much longer. I do feel it will be deaded sooner or later, because the chessboard is about to flip upside down with the death of Unique. We're also going to see Ronnie giving Kanan his first break in the game, and he will be bringing him under his wing. Now this is also where I do want to touch on Ronnie killing his brother. At what point will Ronnie tell Kanan, your brother, meaning Famous, has to go, because he's holding you back or he's a liability? Ronnie's killed his, so I wouldn't be surprised if Famous continues to run his mouth, maybe through rapping about Freddy's death, where we then hear Ronnie telling Kanan he has to go. As they say, you ain't a real killer till you kill someone you love. So where in Power we've previously seen a theme of father and son killings, maybe in Raising Kanan, it will be a theme of brothers or sibling kills, so that's just a thought. Now I think with Ronnie approaching Kanan, they are just setting the foundation for him to pull Kanan away from Rock, even more than he already is. We know that Rock made a move with a gun to try and bring it back home, but it's not working, even with the threat of Laura Walsh, who was a county social worker who came to do a home visit. She said that she would let it slide this time around with Kanan not being home, but if he wasn't there next time, then Kanan would be removed from her care, and the case would be handed over to family court, which is a different level altogether. And that's the last thing Rock needs, because even if it is just family court, if they start digging into her life, the suitability of Rock being able to care for Kanan, her income and whatever else, it can open up a whole can of worms. So Rock putting that gun in Kanan's backpack might have brought Kanan home, but is it more trouble than it's worth, especially with the relationship showing no signs of improvement? With law enforcement and the task force in episode 5, we had Ogden and Howard having lunch. Ogden told him the story about how Crown wasn't sticking with the feds, and he had to find something that sticks before he can get them off his case. Now, why they weren't looking at Crown was because his name wasn't on bulletproof records when the shooting occurred. They also couldn't place him at Baisley or the Jamaica houses, so he asked Howard's help, who has the street knowledge. It was also in his best interest that everything went away and blamed on Crown, not just because of his connection with Rock and Kanan, because he killed Beck, and he did make it look like a suicide, so the last thing he wanted was for Adina Foyle to get a sniff. As a favour for Howard, Demo was happy to come in and speak to Agent Tanner. He said that Crown was always seen around Baisley Parks, spreading money around, so he was sticking to the same story as Howard, Rock and Lou. But when Agent Tanner asked him whether he saw Raquel Thomas with Crown, he questioned, what does Rock have to do with this? And that rang alarm bells, because that's the first time they heard the name Rock, and so he decided to circle back round, when they were literally just about to cross her off the list. So as Rock was actually heading over to the hip hop night at Cafe Vu to support Lou and Marvin, she opened the door to Agent Tanner, who brought her in for questioning. He questioned her around the record label deal, which she said was an investment. She saw an opportunity and she took it, and that's all it was, an investment. Now, with Rock refusing to budge on her story, her lawyer turned around and told her that she wouldn't need to worry about the task force or the FBI, but I beg to differ. I do think she has a lot to worry about when it comes to the law, so let's see what law enforcement do cook up going forward. At Cafe Vu, Lou didn't care that Rock didn't show up, which they didn't know was because she got pulled in for questioning. He said he just wants to be left the fuck alone. The same goes for Kanan and Famous. There was still a bit of bad blood between them. Now I do have a few theories on what we saw at Cafe Vu. Duke warned Kanan not to get too close to Aisha, but I really wouldn't be surprised if he did, and it also ending up the same way it did with Nicole. But this time around it drives a real wedge between Kanan and Duke. The second is, Famous got up on stage and still showed that he has what it takes. He lit up Cafe Vu with his rhymes and his talent, and everybody loved it. I also wouldn't be surprised if Lou started to see the dollar signs when it comes to Famous, so I can actually see him getting back in the studio with Famous making another hit song very similar to Streets Need a Body, which goes back to my previous theory about him rapping about Freddy and potentially self-snitching. So on a side note, you can actually find that track on YouTube called 411, so I do think that's a clue for what's to come. Now back to arguably the moment of not just episode 5, but the series as a whole, Ronnie and Unique. We saw Ronnie following Juliana home and said it felt like she had something else to say the other day, which stems from her turning around and taking another look at Ronnie, and she did. She had history with both Unique and Rock, because let's not forget, Unique did kidnap her at the beginning of season 2. She wanted Unique to be dealt with, but instead Rock decided to get in business with him instead, and so there is a bit of bad blood between Juliana, Rock and Unique. So she said there was nothing that she could do for him as long as Unique was his brother. However, Ronnie was very stern with his response. Unique was always going to be his brother, and he wasn't going anywhere, which did tell us he does have love for his brother, he just has a funny way of showing it, but it also makes what he did at the end of episode 5 even more brutal. Now, when it comes to the timeline, we know that we're currently in 1992 at this moment in time, and from episode 45 there also has been another small time jump, which is probably only a few weeks if that. That was because Unique did say it had been a while since he'd seen Rock, Now the circumstances that brought them together again was Dean's funeral, which also made them get straight to business, with Unique saying he knows exactly the person bold enough to slice Dean up, Ronnie Mathis. So Rock warned him, someone will have to pay for everything he was breaking, and he certainly did continue to break things. As Ronnie was looking at the fish tank, which actually goes back to the older Kanan's narration at the beginning of episode 3, do you want to be a fish in a small bowl or a big bowl? Put a fish in a big bowl and watch him grow. Whereas if Ronnie continued to work under Unique out the Chinese restaurant, he'd stay small. Now this was also where Ronnie continued to stir up the pot between Unique and Panessa, but this time he went one step further. He said Unique is probably out fucking Rock, which again, goes back to Kanan's narration about never speaking about other people's business, especially your brothers. So this really was a shitty move coming from Ronnie, but he knew exactly what he was doing. I think Ronnie wanted a reaction. So the moment Panessa confronted Unique, he was on the hunt. Now we saw Unique driving around until he found his brother at the tailoring shop. Straight away he gets down to business by telling Ronnie he was fucking with his world, but Ronnie's response was he was the big dog. However, I do agree with Unique. Taking out Dean and running his mouth to Panessa about who he was in bed with, even if it was Rock, was some bitch shit. Ronnie was acting like a little bitch. Now Ronnie let it slide when Unique told him he ain't shit in episode 4, but he wasn't about to let this one slide, which is a reaction I do think he wanted from his brother. So as the glasses came off, it was go time. We see the brothers in a good old fist fight where Unique actually got the better of Ronnie. Unique actually won this fight when he put Ronnie on the ground, and in that moment, Unique was the big dog, but he did make one fatal mistake. He turned his back, and that's when shit gets dangerous, because you're fighting about nothing but who's standing till the end. And in the streets, that's when friend turn on friend, family turn on family, brother turn on brother. That's when kings fall.